Hi, friends. I'm Dana Bristol-Smith, and I'm so happy to welcome you today to Self-Care in Stressful Times. Today's topic is a really timely one. We're going to take a look at anger. And what our hope is that through this session today, you'll have a better understanding of anger and that it is a normal emotion that we all feel. And we're going to give you 4 ways to better cope with anger so that you aren't harming yourself or others with the anger that you feel. So this is an unsettling time for certain, and events that are happening locally in our country and around the world are can be really scary and can be really unsettling for all of us. So that's why we've developed this series called Self-Care in Stressful Times. I hope that you'll stay for the full 30 minutes today because we're going to be closing with a guided meditation so that you'll take some peace with you and that you give yourself this respite today. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Kelley Grimes. So here's Kelley.
Hi, everyone. I am so thrilled that you're here again with us today. If this is your first time, I hope you feel give yourself the permission that you need to really take this time to replenish. If you've been with us multiple episodes, this is our 12th episode. It's very exciting. We're so happy to have you here on the journey and that we continue to find ways to really care deeply for ourselves in these stressful times. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kelley. And next, I'd like to introduce you to Alyssa, who's providing our technical support, and she'll have some instructions and resources for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you were able to come and join us for today's episode about understanding anger as a normal emotion. If you would like to see the other videos we have done in this self-care series, we have them available in 2 different places. The first is on a playlist on our YouTube channel, which is just Leap to Success. And the other is on our website where we've compiled a self-care library for you. So if you've missed any previous episodes or you want to revisit them, you can go there. I will be putting the links in the chat. And then speaking about the chat, we will be having some questions today where you can interact with us as panelists as well as other attendees. So if you would like to share answers with attendees, make sure before you submit your answer that your settings are set to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, just Dana, Kelley, and I will be able to see your answers. Thank you, Dana.
Great. Thanks, Alyssa. So I'll take a moment now and tell you about Leap to Success. We are a women's empowerment organization that's based in Carlsbad, California, and our mission is to educate and empower women who are overcoming adversities, including domestic violence, homelessness, and other major challenges. I'm the founder of Leap to Success, and this was an idea that woke me up in the middle of the night back in 2007. We have helped more than 2,000 women here in San Diego County move forward, find their inner resilience and strength, set goals for their future, and do amazing things and become leaders in their lives and in our communities. So I'm just so proud of all of the women that have walked into our classrooms that knew that they needed help and support. And I think about the times that we're in right now, and I think we all need that support and that feeling of belonging, that we're part of a community that cares. So this is our way to reach you, to provide some support during these stressful and uncertain times. So with each of these sessions, we take a look at a topic, we give you some practical tools, and then a guided meditation. So this is 30 minutes of respite, and I hope it'll be useful and helpful for you. So let's talk about anger for a moment. Many of us, especially women, have been taught that it is unacceptable to express anger. So that means that it's ignored. We try to ignore it. We consciously stuff it down, and that can lead to harm of ourselves and harm of others. You know, there have been studies that show that increased stress and emotions that are not expressed cause disease and illness. And that's probably not a surprise for you as well. So having this insight that it's something that we all feel and that we all experience really helps to normalize anger. So I'd like to give you the definition. Anger is a feeling of displeasure resulting from injury, mistreatment, opposition, and it usually shows itself in a desire to fight back at the perceived causes of this feeling. Anger is a secondary feeling, and the primary feeling is always hurt, but sometimes fear and also pain. So anger escalates when the hurt, the pain, or the fear is not addressed and when it's not heard. And we can see that right now in society. We're hearing so many voices. Injustice is being lifted up to the light, and voices are really loud because they have not been heard. And we see it in protests, and we see it in a lot of people standing up and speaking up right now. And that can be, it's a good thing, and it can be scary, and it can trigger anger in anyone. So what I'd like to ask you right now is, with everything that's going on, what feeling do you notice? And Alyssa will put this in the chat. What feeling do you notice beneath anger that you feel, knowing that anger is a secondary emotion? And I'll take a look in the chat and see what comes up here. So if someone says they feel drained, fear, sadness and fear, hurt, yeah, we all experience those things. And I think it's really important to know that anger is the result of these feelings that we have that we really have trouble expressing. Someone else has said frustration. Actually, a couple people have just said frustration. And then that can lead to anger. Anger is a temporary emotion, and I think that's really important to recognize. And it is an emotion, just like sadness is an emotion or joy. And there's actually a continuum of anger. And think about this for yourself. You could be mildly annoyed at something, or you can feel like a full-on rage. So from mild to all the way to intense. So there's a scale or a continuum. And what I'd also like to tell you about anger is that when we're in a high state of anger, our adrenaline is pumping, it's increased cortisol, and it's really tapping into the amygdala in our brain, that fight or flight. And when you feel that way, you really can't think clearly. So when anger is really at a high level, our ability to be rational and thoughtful and with our actions, with our words, is down here when anger is up here. So we really need to be able to notice the anger, notice what's beneath the anger, and have some strategies to cope with it. So we bring the anger level down. And when we do that, we increase our ability to be rational, to be thoughtful, and to behave in ways that don't harm ourselves and don't harm others. So what I'd like to do right now is turn this over. I want to say a couple more things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kelley to give us some coping strategies. So what's really important also is that when you feel anger, to realize that it's giving you information about the situation that you're in, and also to realize that no one else can make us angry. It's a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make. And I'd like to share this quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who reminded us of our choice when he said, "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." So he knew that the thoughts that he was thinking and then the actions that he was taking were of his own choice. And it's not always easy to know that we're at choice and to know that we're responsible for the actions, especially when we're angry. but it is. So I'm going to turn you over to Kelley, and Kelley's going to share with us 4 ways to cope with your own anger so that you can make really good choices in ways that you express it. So here's Kelley.
Thank you so much, Dana. I really, really think this idea that anger is an emotion, it is an experience, it may be giving us really important information about the need to set boundaries or to make different decisions. And so we can be compassionate and kind to ourselves when we're having this intense emotion. And understand that when we have anger, usually because fear is underneath it, we're usually in the fight flight part of our brain. And we've talked about in stress how that fight flight part of our brain really, we have all these cortical steroids and other adrenaline and other things rushing through our bodies. And so we feel it, right? I bet many of you could reflect right now about when you get angry, how does it show up in your body? Do you notice where that is? I'm going to give you a tool in just a moment for you to bring more awareness to that. But because we know that most of the time for us, it's an embodied thing, it's so important. The first step is to give some release to it. So the first way of coping with the intensity of anger that I offer you is to move your body. When we have all that adrenaline running through our bodies, oftentimes our heart will beat, we'll get flushed, we'll have an experience, maybe we get nauseous. So we have a physiological experience of cortisol rushing through our bodies. So we can make a choice, if we can, to take a walk. Sometimes we can't walk outside our house, right? It may be that you have children you're caring for. You may be in your office, but you can walk around your room or your office. You can shake it off in different ways. And I want to give you permission right now, if even having this conversation about anger has heated you up a bit and you're feeling it, give yourself permission to shake it off. You can shake it off. You could put music on and dance it off, whatever it is. But we know that walking or moving our bodies for, even 10 minutes can make such a difference in lowering that intensity so that, again, we can make empowered choices. There is absolutely nothing wrong with emotions, right? But usually what happens is when we react out of our emotions, that's where the challenge is. If we respond out of our emotions, that means we've lowered it enough that we're now engaged with our prefrontal cortex, not just our amygdala, and we're able to make these empowered decisions that help resolve the issue, whatever came up. Then we have more opportunity. So move your body. That's a huge one. The second one that I love is a mindfulness practice or method called STOP. And it's an acronym, and the idea of it is the S stands for stop. The T stands for take a breath. Let's all do that for a moment. The O stands for observe. Now, this is that moment where you could really check in. And you could say to yourself, what is under this intensity of this emotion that I'm feeling? Am I feeling hurt? Am I fearful? Do I see some injustice? I read in the comments also grief. Am I feeling sadness or grief about something? And anger's boiling up with that. So noticing how I'm feeling gives me so many more opportunities to figure out how I can care for myself in that moment, how I can nurture myself in that moment. The P of the stop is proceed, right? So this gives you 4 steps to come back home to yourself, to ground yourself, and to see how you want to proceed, right? Maybe the proceeding is speaking up. Maybe the proceeding is setting a boundary. Maybe the proceeding is going and taking care of yourself. Whatever it looks like, you now have much more access to the options and the possibilities in front of you that are empowering and that will lead to, as I said, some potential resolution to whatever the perceived challenge or threat was. Okay, so I love that as a practice, and we could use that practice not just when we're angry. Certainly that practice would benefit us just to have kind of integrated into our days. And so it's just part of when we have a strong emotion that we give ourselves permission to stop. The third thing that I think is a very, very powerful tool is journaling. Now, oftentimes when we have had strong feelings and other things and haven't felt heard or seen or affirmed or acknowledged, we can get more angry. I don't know if that's true for you, but it certainly is for me. And so what I love about journaling is it gives me an opportunity to get clarity, to have some discernment, to see what's underneath what's happening, and to affirm and acknowledge myself. Ultimately, that is the most powerful thing that I can do, because the more I do that for myself, the more that I feel empowered in the world. And I'm not looking all the time for that need to be met outside me. I realize I can do that for myself. So I bet you have many other tools that you use to cope with anger. And I would be so grateful if you would share them in the chat right now so that I can share them with the rest of the folks on this webinar. So what tools do you use? Someone said journaling. They find that very helpful. Taking a deep breath. And I think anytime we have an opportunity to take a deep breath, so important. So let's take a deep breath again now together. Someone else shared tapping, and in our last episode, we actually walked you through the practice of tapping. You can go to thetappingsolution.com, and they have wonderful practices, tapping meditations that you can walk through, and they absolutely have them around anger. They also have them around hurt, fear, and other things. Talking about it. Absolutely. So finding somebody safe that we can talk about it. And talking about it's really helpful when someone can just do reflective listening, when they don't interrupt us, when they don't try to solve our problems for us, when they don't get really angry as well. Sometimes we can go to people and they can get as riled up as we are, and then it doesn't help us get more clarity. We feel maybe more angry. So choosing who are those people who will just listen, reflect back, and affirm that we're angry, absolutely, but not, increase our anger at that point. So yes, talking to an understanding person is what someone else shared. So absolutely, we want to be affirmed, and it's really important whether you affirm yourself or speak to other people and feel affirmed. It is incredibly important. So thank you all so much for sharing those. I feel like this is an area of our tool chest, our self-nurturing and self-care tool chest that we can just keep adding to. So maybe you bring the intention this week to notice how you cope when you have anger, and notice what other things that you can add in, whether it's one of the three that I've shared so far, or other things. Another thing that was shared that I love is to ask my inner child what she needs right now. And then following through, right? So if you get a sense, oftentimes hurt comes from these parts of ourselves that maybe are hurt in this moment, but it brings up old hurts. If anybody resonates with that. So really going and caring for that part of ourselves can be a very nurturing practice. So I want to offer you one more practice, and it's called loving kindness meditation. I know we've shared it in past episodes, but I want to ground it in how it can be used as a way to cope with anger. Now, when we're at the height of our anger, it may be hard to do loving kindness, because loving kindness meditation is about sending aspirations out into the world about how we want to be, right? We start with ourselves, then aspirations that we want to share with somebody that we love, and then what we want to share out to the wider world. When you maybe have had some person that's triggered up anger in you, one way you can use this practice when you've processed, when you've gotten to a point where it's kind of decreased and you want to create a sense of maybe a reparative action, a sense of forgiveness, a sense of love back with that person, you can then do the loving kindness with that person in your mind as well. So I'm going to take you through this meditation. I'm going to invite you to sit where you are, if you can, safe and comfortably, to close your eyes or just soften them down so you're not getting a lot of visual content. And I want to invite you, I'm going to be saying the words, and I invite you to say them in your mind, right? So I'm going to say a phrase, and then I'm going to invite you to say it in your mind. And we're going to go through this practice together. So feel your feet on the ground. Bring a sense of curiosity and non-judgment to this moment. And let's take 3 full body breaths in and out. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I practice compassion and forgiveness. May I be peaceful. May I live life with ease. Now think about someone you love, someone who's dear to you. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you practice compassion and forgiveness. May you be peaceful. May you live life with ease. Now let's expand this loving kindness out into the world. You can think of your family, your organizations, your communities, and the wider world with these aspirations. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be happy. May we practice compassion and forgiveness. May we be peaceful. And may we live life with ease. And breathe into all of that loving kindness, remembering that this loving kindness starts with ourselves, that we offer these aspirations, this love, this kindness and compassion to ourselves first, so that then we can spread it in the world. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I pass you back to Dana.
Thank you, Kelley. Oh, what a wonderful break in the middle of the day. And that would also be A fantastic way to start the day or to end the day, to give ourselves and give those we love and give the wider world that loving kindness and compassion. I'd like to close with a quote, and thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for giving yourself this time, and thank you for your own openness to take a look at anger in your own life, for your own self, and how to take better care of yourself. This is a quote, and it comes from the book Radical Compassion by Tara Brach. And this is from the chapter Awakening from the Grip of Fear. And the quote is from Louis Cozolino. And I'll end with this today. We are not the survival of the fittest. We are the survival of the nurtured. So I hope that you nurture yourself, you nurture those you love, you nurture those in our community and our world, because the world needs you and the gifts that you bring and the compassion that you bring. So take good care of yourself, my friends, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.